Mum's zebra to fuck face, they long. In the first installment, we had these guys functioning as politicians, the tongue wagglers, but now it's converted into the division between mum and dad, where we have a split that requires one chapter for mum, one chapter for dad, perhaps multiple chapters for both parties, but must start with mum, as mother tongue did dominantly come from mother with the Turkish half of it. Mum still speaks the lingo, she's a cross speaker, she switches rapidly, she's very strong with her language switch, to the extent that English speaking teachers who were present during her bilingual presentations in two languages were shocked and surprised by how they could understand her through the Turkish. With Dad, I have no tangible Turkish coming from him. With Dad, the only thing that comes through him and his sister is the word gözgü, which meant mirror. However, I was 4 years old. Family was visiting Turkey at the time. This word gözgü came into the scenario. I didn't know they were meaning mirror. I thought gözgü was a pair of glasses. Have you seen where the gözgü is? As a kid, I'm looking for glasses. I pointed to a pair of glasses and my aunt said, no, I'm talking about mirror. And the other word for mirror, as I knew it, was ayna. That was the word for mirror. But it was something like that which happened. That's how I linked to Dad through the gözgü, this specific word. So, no tangible Turkish map through Dad outside of that word. There's going to be a handful of other words that just don't come to the foreground of my mind that are Turkish fusions with Dad. I won't go into the story of the family lingo at this stage. How Turkish mapped through Dad is a complex story of my relationship with my father was dominantly English only. However, it wasn't the case when I was 0 to 4. With Dad, it cut off around the age of 4, but there was another point towards the age of 8 when it cut off yet again, and that was the final cut with Dad. And I shouldn't be drawing on this side because this half was supposed to be mother's half of the spectrum on this page, whereas this was supposed to be Dad's half, but somehow Dad's side jumped over here through the gözgü, through the mirror incident, and my aunt was in the picture at the time. And this is where I hear my aunt and my dad through Azeri. I feel them through lingos pointing in that direction and going further north. Grandma is somewhere between Tatar Kazakh spectrum. With Dad, this story 0 to 4, and then at 8 that it was very brute cut off. And this is connected also to, at this age, I experienced a form of crystallization with language. Year 3 with Mrs. Hoy, responsible for teaching grammar. Fuck you, bitch. Very hardcore fuckament there. You don't criticize my fucking English grammar. Her name was Mrs. Hoy. Fuck piece of cunt fuck rock. Aussie piece of shit, that one. You think you know your fucking English, huh? What's an adjective? What's a verb, Mrs. Hoy? She would know. Excuse me. Yes, she would know. She would know. Go swallow your paratology there. Yes, for your paratology. You who failed to teach it, failed to teach. But that's the beginning of your fucking bilingual crisis right there with this fucking piece of shit. So where the fuck was I? Woolworths, you have a fucking problem with your semolina contaminated with bugs. Mumsy, fix it for me. Totally fucking derailed there. This was important. Ah, right, Mrs. Hoy, the fucking bitch can't fuck. Shortly around that time of the age of 8, verging towards 9, the sense of crystallization in my life with language through English took place. It was around this age that the world around me started to make sense, and I started to hear the language fuse. There was some form of fusion where suddenly, finally, the sounds of my surrounding environment were starting to make a shitload of perfect sense. I just remember my relationship with Dad at around this time became exclusively English only. I was rarely speaking to him in Turkish. There may be bits of video where he still is speaking with us in Turkish. We are responding in English most of the time, and as I got older that continued, and my relationship with my father is dominantly just English only. I don't carry a map of his Turkishality. I don't carry a map of his soundology. I have no memory of, oh, he used to pronounce this word this way, that way. I have none of that. But in English, it's in my voice, and that's when my accent starts swinging. What's going on with the accent, Arch? Yeah, it's when my accent starts swinging outside of that general Australis spectrum where it's got the capacity to swing full on broad. There's about 8 to 12 different shapes of accents that I carry in my voice. They come up during certain states of mind, certain modalities of speaking, and I identify one of them as the CWA voice, where it kind of gets a little bit pommy and uppity. However, my delivery is often very sarcastic and sardonic during that type of mode. When I start swinging into the Turkic accent, yeah, that's Dad. That's how his Turkishality mapped through the English. That is the Turkish from Dad through English. And as I'm speaking, that's not a overtly conscious decision-making thing whatsoever. I'm aware words such as the or because. There are certain words like that where as I speak them, it's going to switch onto the Turkic rails, and that's what can make the accent swing. The other one is through the modality of thought process, getting analytical, needing to retain focus of this one was with this one, goes with that, goes with this at Suzanne. When I have to think like that, that's another point where it can swing. And then I'm fairly sure there will be other speech therapists who can identify that because that's all they do all day, where it's like, no, we also notice you do this and this and yeah, right. I'm conscious enough to know that it's happening, but I don't have the time, space or the background to be analytically documenting every nitty-gritty nuance of what is causing that specifically, and I don't have the jargon to adequately classify, group, compartmentalize into these pre-sorted categories that I haven't been introduced to at school. Therefore, it's not a part of my landscape in how I process language and try to talk about it here. Started off with a need of my mum needs a separate chapter, Dad needs a separate chapter, but as I'm trying to think through my mouth on the fly without any rehearsals, without any notes, it's like there was a need to start off with both. I feel I've been able to mete out some of the elements, though it's still feeling like shrapnel, like exploded meat on the paddock, trying to put the cow back together again. How do I do that? Kind of not really possible. I could probably do something, but it's gonna look like some kind of a lumpy thing like that, trying to put the meat back together again. It's not gonna look like a cow, but it's gonna look like some type of a four-legged something or other. Kind of like trying to sculpt a cow out of mincemeat, trying to build a cow out of mince. Yeah, so my eye keeps going to this pomegranate here. My brain just got distracted by, oh, Jesus Christ, this actually looks like a pretty damn good picture attempt at a pomegranate here. I've actually done a pretty good job trying. There's something about the veins here where I'm going, that's actually pretty close to what it feels like. I've tried to annotate aspects of the Turkishality that came from Mum and Dad, but it's like I have to stop, call it a shish kebab, shishka sausage. Shit. Turkish sausage.
Babesy, can you please dock Coles for illegal packaging design here?
Get used to it!